So my Sheaffer Legacy from 20 years ago is the smoothest fountain pen that I own. It's not one of the smoothest, it's the absolute smoothest. It is a veritable slip and slide of ink expressing itself gleefully across the page. It's just absolutely brilliant. So if a pen is going to call itself a legacy, it had better live up to that history, that performance, and add to the legend that is the Sheaffer Fountain Pen Company. So today I am going to compare these two fountain pens. The somewhat recently released modern Sheaffer Legacy and my 20-year-old Sheaffer Legacy Fountain Pen. And through comparing and contrasting these two and learning about them, I think we'll learn much more about each, how it writes, and which one is more worthy of your attention. So join me today, won't you, as I present Sheaffer versus Sheaffer. Before we begin, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Sheaffer Fountain Pen Company. Sheaffer was founded by Walter A. Sheaffer in Fort Madison, Iowa, in the back of a jewelry store in 1912. It was built on his 1908 patent for the lever filling system, an innovation that helped make fountain pens more practical. Before this, most fountain pens were eyedroppers. From its inception, Sheaffer helped to make fountain pens practical, and practicality built their pen empire. In 1924, Sheaffer introduced the white dot as a sign of premium quality and a lifetime guarantee. No paperwork, no receipt, just the dot on your pen guaranteed your pen for life. I suppose we could look at it a bit beyond just regular branding and more as a sign of prestige, of the fact that Sheaffer was saying they were going to stand behind your pen and fix it if you ever had a problem. I guess the closest modern equivalent would be LL Bean before they changed their return policy. In 1952, Sheaffer introduced the Snorkel fill system, innovating again with fill systems. This time your pen could fill without submerging the nib at all, and so it and your fingers stayed clean. It is a fascinating way to fill your pen, if but a bit over-engineered, but I love little details like that. It kind of makes it incredibly charming and interesting. It kind of reminds me of Darwin's hawk moth, which has a 12-inch proboscis that is capable of getting nectar inside deep into this flower. It evolved that way. It's really fascinating. In 1959, Sheaffer introduced the inlaid nib, one of my personal favorite innovations. This is the PFM, or Pen for Men.
It writes the way a man's pen should, with unmistakable character and authority.
No wonder any man would be happy to receive and so proud to own his Sheaffer PFM.
Instead of a nib being at the end of a section, it was integrated into it for a sleeker design that gave it a very modern, very mid-century aesthetic. And if you think about it, the inlaid nib really is a major part of the Sheaffer brand identity, which is part of the reason I'm so delighted to see it returning now. So when you consider the Sheaffer Pen Company, it truly had a remarkable run of innovations. And when I think of Sheaffer in a traditional sense, through its history, it's really its engineering that set it apart. Its quality for certain, that inlaid nib, and of course, that white dot. Sheaffer continued manufacturing in Fort Madison for the remainder of the 20th century. But in the early 2000s, production began shifting eastward. The Fort Madison factory closed in 2008. So luckily, my Sheaffer Legacy was one of the last ones that would have been made in that factory. I purchased mine around 2005. and all that institutional knowledge and artisanship and craftsmanship and attention to detail, and just that incredible gold nib and everything else I'll reveal about this pen were just part of the DNA of the company, just passed around from generation to generation. I imagine there were probably folks working there that had been working there for 30 plus years that would have worked on fountain pens that were created during the golden age in the mid-century of fountain pens. So that's pretty exciting and interesting. So my Sheaffer Legacy truly is a legacy fountain pen from Sheaffer. And now the question is, does the modern one measure up at all? Or is it a shadow, just an imitation? It's a pretty exciting question to ponder. In 2014, Sheaffer was acquired by A.T. Cross, and in 2022, it was acquired by William Penn of India. Now, I do have to hand it to William Penn of India for bringing Sheaffer back to its roots and even attempting to resurrect the legacy. Good job. Okay, in our comparison and discussion for today, let's set a benchmark. And it is a high benchmark. This truly is one of my most superb fountain pens. My 20-year-old Sheaffer Legacy that has been on many adventures with me, has traveled with me, has been in my office countless times, has written in journals and legal documents and everything else. It's just been an absolute joy carrying this fountain pen for the past 20 years, and it's holding up brilliantly. So let's talk about the particulars of this amazing fountain pen before we compare it with the modern one coming up shortly. This fountain pen has a very important designation. It's marked Sheaffer USA, showing that it was produced in the United States, of course. It's lovingly made of fluted palladium in its finish. It captures the light, it dazzles, it's very interesting. It has a lovely tuned 18 karat gold inlaid nib in that gorgeous aggressive diamond style that Sheaffer is known for. It is set into what must be black polished resin magnificently. There's no gaps. The craftsmanship is superb. The one thing very nice about this resin is it warms in your hand. It gives you a nice comfortable grip. It never feels slimy or wet. It just has that warmth that communicates to your hand. It also makes it such that it's not a metal grip, so it's much more comfortable, making this pen fantastic, easy, balanced, great for steering across the page. Now, this pen is a cartridge converter fountain pen, no fancy Snorkel fill mechanism here. It does have a very nice converter. It's sort of a smoky gray color on the reservoir, and it feels very nice and well made, as most 90s era converters do. They were just much better back then than what we have now. And the one thing nice about this smoky gray color is that it's hiding any stains when you clean it, so someone obsessive like myself can kind of forget about it. It's just masked. This pen posts securely and deeply, keeping the center of gravity balanced, and it has a tremendous feel of balance in your hand. It's overbuilt, over-engineered, even in the threads of the section into the barrel. Everything feels very considered, very intentional, very robust, and that's probably why it has lasted easily the past 20 years. So let's talk about one of the highlights of this fountain pen, its amazing 18 karat gold nib. And this nib is in medium, just for reference. It's a very sort of generous medium, which is part of what gives it its smoothness. This 18 karat gold nib is unbelievably forgiving. It provides a glide path as you write. It slathers over any of your irregularities. It gives a really interesting aspect to my penmanship, especially when I do rein in this nib. So I think about who made this nib. It was probably done by someone who had been doing it there at Fort Madison for decades. And their expertise in craftsmanship really shows in how this incredible nib writes. I always think you get something of the artisan in the nib. You get something of their attention to detail. If they let it go too prematurely, it's not going to write right. This one was definitely worked on lovingly, smoothed to perfection, and it's an absolute joy to write with. I feel like this nib, this entire pen, was designed to be exceptional. I believe they took the legacy nomenclature very literally, and they wanted a pen that truly expressed the history, the engineering, the quality of the Sheaffer brand. Okay, now that we've set a pretty high bar on what a Sheaffer Legacy, in my opinion, should be, let's now discuss what the modern Sheaffer Legacy is. And I also want to take a quick moment to thank my good friend Brendan Schmidt for sending me this modern Sheaffer Legacy Fountain Pen so I could add it to my collection and make videos like this one for you and share my experience with it. And I'm really excited to let you know exactly what I think of this fountain pen. So thank you, Brendan. And let me also say that this is not an assassination. I spent a lot of time with this pen, using it at home, at work. I carried it for, I'd say, a month, using it daily. I really wanted to be fair, to get to know it and express it in its best. So follow me as I now jump down into the rabbit hole with this fountain pen and just explore it thoroughly, so that you have a good idea as to whether or not you should add it to your collection. And at the end of the video, I'll give my opinion on just that. To begin, overall, the modern Legacy looks very, very similar to the 20-year-old Legacy. So similar, in fact, that I don't understand why it doesn't post. I feel like it should, it looks like it could, but it just doesn't. Now, that's not so hard on me because I don't really post fountain pens very often anymore, but I just feel like it should, but it clearly doesn't. The other thing that you notice right away is that it doesn't say where it's made. So no more Sheaffer USA. Of course, they're not made in the US. I'm assuming they're made in China, but I don't have any direct knowledge as to exactly where they are made. Okay, I just checked the box and it says designed in the USA and made in China. I think something else we notice at first blush is, yes, it does have the white dot on the top. It's not as prominent. It's almost like an afterthought, but it's there and it's comforting. The rest of the design, it feels a little plainer, a little more sort of stripped down. Now, it only comes in two sizes for the nib, fine and medium, and when I got mine, it only came in medium, which is okay too, because I love medium nibs. And there's a little M on the back, which I appreciate. I actually like that. It's a little bit of overkill, but it's always nice when a pen is labeled with its nib size. Especially with like Mont Blanc, I am always struggling to figure out which pen is which between a fine and a medium, especially the way they write. Sometimes they seem to overlap. So it's very nice to see that mark on the back. And of course, if you uncap the snap cap, you encounter that absolutely gorgeous, elongated, diamond-shaped, inlaid nib. Now this one is a bit different because it's in stainless steel and not gold, okay? How much of a difference does that make? When I write with it, we'll get into that in more detail. But in aesthetics, when you're looking at it, it is no less beautiful. It is an absolutely gorgeous and stunning fountain pen nib. And when you compare it with the older one, it looks by sight very, very similar. And that's pretty magnificent to think that they were able to pull that off, that they were able to, I guess, reverse engineer one of the vintage ones and to make it nearly identical in look as the older one. With the only difference being that The point of the diamond that faces the barrel of the pen is sort of drawn down into an extended line, which frankly I like. It gives it even more of an illusion of length, and it's very beautiful. That's different than the original, and that is an aesthetic choice that must have been made fairly recently. So I would characterize this nib as a reinterpretation, and like any reboot, it's up to you as to whether or not you like it. It has the look of the gold nib and some of its performance, but it does lack its soul, and I think that's a very important detail. It feels stamped and not forged in some artisan's crucible in front of loving eyes and hands. But maybe that's just my perspective. But now all of that is fine. Aesthetics are one thing, but the most important thing is how this nib writes. It's where the nib meets the paper. That's the important part. So let me now kind of guide you through how this steel nib measures up to the Sheaffer 18 karat gold nib of old. I will say overall, I am very surprised just how well this steel nib writes. But it's the details, I think, that are important. This steel nib writes well, very well, if not a bit angle sensitive. The edge can be elusive at times, but when it is properly positioned to the paper and the tines are excited by a smooth thrust across the page and they tingle and vibrate, exciting the ink to fill the feed and flowing through them in undulating ribbons, it is a glorious experience. But if your angle isn't right, all the excitement is gone and you have to coax it. You have to rotate your hand a touch. You have to realign it. Precision is the goal here, and you may have to angle it in different ways until you find the exact right fit for you and your hand. But then there it is, just right, and it's transcendently smooth. The steel is also a bit more firm. It feels a little less forgiving, and it has a little bit more of sort of a mass-produced feel to it. But it is absolutely gorgeous, and it writes incredibly well once you get the feel for it. And it's also beautifully set into the pen. So the thing is, the nib doesn't feel terrible, it just feels different. It feels more practical. It feels actually slightly more robust. It feels like it would take more abuse. It feels a bit stronger. It feels like it will hold up over time. I think also in comparison, it feels a little neutered. It feels a little restrained, but maybe restraint isn't the worst thing. I mean, my 20-year-old Sheaffer Legacy is a fire hose of ink, and that's not for everyone, especially if you're looking for more practical writing. I tend to use that mostly for journaling when I am feeling very exuberant, but mainly for signing my name in very dramatic ways on different documents. A pen like this is more of a everyday pen, more of a pen for taking notes at school or in the boardroom, for other tasks, even for writing smaller. It feels more disciplined, more utilitarian, and that's probably a very good thing. Actually, it's not probably a very good thing, it is a very good thing. You know, I do think back on that 20-year-old Sheaffer, and in a way it's very sad, isn't it? That pen is called the Legacy. And at the time, it was designed to be the flagship of the brand, to signal Sheaffer's revival and reemergence into the market. And it was just not to be. But at the end, they produced something glorious. So if you can find one of the vintage ones, before I tell you whether or not the new one is worthy of your time and your $212 US at the time of filming, that vintage one is an extraordinary fountain pen. I've noticed that the prices on the used market have been creeping up. They used to be around $250, $300. They seem to be around $500 now. So if you can find one, perhaps at a pen show or elsewhere, around, $350. I think that's a very good deal. And I wouldn't be shy if it shows a little bit of age, because it's pretty amazing when a pen has a history. So I would find that one if you can. So these two pens are clearly not the same, and perhaps they shouldn't be. The older Legacy feels more of a natural part of a 100-year progression of pen making and excellence in the use of finer materials like gold. The 20-year-old feels like the ultimate expression of everything that was great about Sheaffer. And the modern one feels more like an homage to that tradition. It kind of reminds me of a Gibson Les Paul copy made in China. It's still made of fantastic materials. It sounds incredible. It's much, much cheaper than an actual Les Paul, and yet somehow it just doesn't feel wholly authentic to you. You always feel like you have something else. But this fountain pen also uses the Sheaffer design visual vocabulary to amazing effect with its inlaid nib. It writes spectacularly, but you do have to find that edge. So do I recommend you spending $212 US for this modern Sheaffer Legacy Fountain Pen? Is it worth it? Yes, it is. I do feel like you need this inlaid nib in your collection. Once you find how to write with it that's best for you, it is gloriously smooth and a lot of fun. And it's very nice and balanced in your hand. I do kind of wish this one posts, because I do post my old one. But if that doesn't bother you, then I think it's a good choice for you. My cap feels tight. All the fit and finish seems top notch. It's a very nice utilitarian fountain pen that can be under the radar. You can leave it around without somebody nabbing it probably. It doesn't call a lot of attention to itself, but it does write very well. It's fantastic to get an inlaid nib into your collection. It's just absolutely glorious. Now, if I had to choose between this one and the one that's 20 years old, yeah, in that case, I would definitely keep the older one, but it's also tied up in so much sentiment over the years. On a purely writing point of view, the older one does write more as I enjoy, but I do appreciate the practicality of this modern one. It's not a bad pen at all. It's brilliantly done. I'm impressed with the level of craftsmanship, and now that we have a stainless steel one, who knows, a gold one could be coming sometime in the future.
Who knows? Who knows?
So is this Sheaffer pen still made like they used to? No, it is something else, but it is something very well done, and I've had a blast writing with it, and I'm not putting it away anytime soon. And I think more than anything else, that speaks volumes. So what do you think of the modern Sheaffer fountain pen? Have you tried one? I think you should. Go out and give it a try. Let me know in the comments, and if you've reached this point in the video, you have to subscribe. I don't make up these rules. Actually, I did make up that rule, but I would appreciate it. I do go and explore some amazing places that have to do with fountain pens, and I'd love to have you on this journey with me. Also, if you know someone else who might enjoy this, please send this video to them. And if you want to support the channel even more, there is a membership. There's a join button down there. I would love to have you behind the scenes as well. Illuminati and Cognoscenti members have a pen pal group, which is going strong and is a lot of fun. So I make new videos each week, and I have a live show as well. So I can promise you that we will see each other again very, very soon, further up the road. So please do take care of yourself.